Hey, this is Lou Mangello from WDW Radio, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Let's do this.
The Tangents of Speak continue all the way to episode 345 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You better watch out, because this podcast is about to go as fast as lightning. Ka-Chow! Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we with a virtual table and see who's joined us this week. Did we lose Brittany again?
Well, this is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
There's Brittany.
Brittany's there. Brittany is on a very severe delay, apparently.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay. Not as bad as Internet Explorer, though.
Yeah. And this
introduction when we
sleep.
Yep. Ooh, and this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I spit all over myself doing that Ka-Chow. Get myself a napkin. Oh my. The little candy sugar rush left over there, so very enthusiastic.
Yes. What do you expect the day after Halloween?
Yeah, really.
As we are recording it.
Yep. So much candy. All right.
Yes.
First up, the news. Not a whole lot, but we got a couple of trailers, including our first look at the Book of Boba Fett, which will be premiering on Disney Plus right before the end of the year.
Yes, we are.
Boba Fett, Fennec Shand, and all sorts of shenanigans, apparently. So,
yes.
like Boba Fett's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna take over where Jabba the Hutt left off.
Like, I'm the new Jabba, but I'm not him, which is good because, yeah. I don't imagine Tamara Morrison would like to put on that much weight for the role.
and the please speak freely line. It's like,
Yeah.
Now,
the Star Wars version of Dirty Harry's "Do You Feel Lucky, Punk?"
Yes. Also, like I've been listening to the audiobook of Dune lately, and some of that political machinations and all that kind of stuff going on. I'm just like, I haven't got to the point where all hell breaks loose and the plot gets going. We're still kind of meandering in the something bad is going to happen, but we don't know what it is, so we're going to walk into the trap anyway. But yeah, so I've been listening to that, and then I watched this trailer, and I'm like, Baron Harkonnen, is that you?
Yeah. And surprisingly, they're on a planet that has sandworms.
Well, and Star Wars was inspired by Dune, so
This is true.
Dune did come first. For those that do not know their sci-fi timelines.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. So. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't seen the movie, go see it. Preferably in theaters, but it is on HBO Max as well. But it's good.
And it sounds like part 2 got greenlit.
It did indeed. So I was
what I've been seeing.
I was very happy to see that, especially after seeing the movie. We went on Friday, and it was
after seeing
quite good.
Is it what's the son's name?
Paul,
and then Kevin J. Anderson were both kind of posting. Yep, they got greenlit.
Yes, it was exciting. So, I don't know. I could give a little short mini review of it, but basically, I just would say go watch it. It's so good. Whether or not you've read the book, it is excellent. And I think it's accessible. I think it's pretty accessible for people who, if you haven't read the book, you'd still get it. I mean, there are a few like little bits and pieces. It's like, oh, I wish they could have included that, but you'd be okay. It's one of those. The basic storyline is there. Well, the first half of it.
Yeah.
Part 1. But anyway.
Cool.
So yeah. Oh, and
all
Oscar,
I know is Sting does not appear anywhere in a diaper.
No, there is no mostly naked Sting in this movie at all. Thank goodness. But I will tell you, Oscar Isaac as Duke Leto is, he's so good, and it kind of breaks my heart for reasons of spoilery, but I guess if you've read the book, you know. But I was not expecting him to be that good in the role, but he was amazing.
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, I did too, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's Oscar Isaac, and he did a great job for, being the dad, and you kind of expect someone to be older in that role, but he did it. So cool. He is not just a pretty face.
All right. And then our other trailer is appropriate, and we're staying in the Pixar universe, is the trailer for Lightyear.
Which it looks great. Yeah. I have questions about just sort of like the general timeline and world of Toy Story now, just because I'm like, okay, so they've gone to space already, and like not just like, we've gone to the moon and sent probes out and stuff, but it's like they're, this is like Star Trek level, contacting other civilizations and life forms, and it's like I had no idea when they were when Buzz and Woody were having their adventures, that somewhere out there the Toy Story version of NASA or whatever, they're like doing 5-year missions or something. It's like,
well, I mean, Earthlings had to have figured out space travel at some point, because that's the whole premise of WALL-E.
Well, yes, but WALL-E is like many years. Yeah,
but I mean, it couldn't have been too far in the future. I mean, far enough that we completely destroy the Earth. But to be able to get to the point where we can have space travel in a way that we can take the entire planet of people and just have them exist living out in space. So.
Well, okay, but my thought is like, in the first Toy Story, there's the scene where they're, trying to get Woody and Buzz back on the moving van, and there's like they're in a minivan, and Molly is rocking out to Hakuna Matata on the tape deck or the CD player or whatever in the car, and I'm like, okay, that's our level of technology, back in '95, and it's kind of with all the sequels, it's kind of stayed at that level. So it's our world, except space exploration has gotten to a point where it's so far advanced that we have like are the little green men based on a real planet? Are they, it's just like, Toy Story, this is our world, this is our technology, this is our civilization, and yet Buzz Lightyear is ostensibly supposed to be based on this real world astronaut who did all these amazing great things, and they even based a cartoon show on him, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, which Disney Plus needs to put that on their service soon.
At least you're recognizing the fact that in this movie, Lightyear is a person and not the toy, unlike a lot of commenters on YouTube who are like, they've already done this with Buzz Lightyear Space Command, and I'm like, this isn't the toy, this is the person who inspired the toy. This would be like if NASA decided to make a Buzz Aldrin toy.
Right? Well,
it was a
toy. It was a toy. It's a show, even in universe, and a video game in universe. Yeah. So,
but it's still based off of a real person, like G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe was based off of a real person.
Well, yes, I know. I'm not complaining, and I'm not saying like, oh, how does all this work? I'm just kind of trying to puzzle it out for myself. I am intrigued by it, and it feels like it's something new and fresh and interesting, unlike Toy Story 4, where, Woody just says, well, I'm just gonna not be a toy anymore. But this is like actually exploring like what, kind of world building, I guess, for the whole Toy Story universe, which is, it's interesting. It's like all these mundane things can exist where in a world where, space exploration has reached this point that all this crazy, wonderful, awesome stuff is happening.
Yeah. I mean, in our real world here, I mean, we live in a world where we're sending robots to Mars, and we're sending, William Shatner into space, and yet I still constantly have to reteach my mother-in-law how to save something in Word. So,
and we still don't have flying cars yet or hoverboards. So there you have it, folks.
It's just kind of an interesting paradigm shift. It's like you watch the Toy Story movies and you think you know what the world is like. You're like, oh, actually, no. It's it's still like daycare and minivans and going to college and Al having to drive all the way to work on a Saturday. In Toy Story 2, but yet, all these grand scientific things are happening, and it's, it's straight out of, like you said, Star Trek, which makes the prospectors, scoffing about space toys in Toy Story 2 even more just even more interesting. That wow, like all the Woody and the Woody's Roundup just got dropped like a hot potato because all these awesome space things were happening. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I could see why that happened. It's still sad, but it's understandable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm rebuilding this world in my head just based on this one trailer of a movie that
we haven't even heard the voice yet. Like there's all other people speak in the trailer yet. We haven't heard Chris Evans speak.
He said and
yes,
because the one lady's like to infinity, and he goes and the trailer ends.
Yeah, which doesn't tell you a whole lot.
No, it is very, very much a teaser.
Yep,
but it's a fun teaser. So yeah, this one, I mean, I've kind of sort of been blah on some of the Pixar movies lately, but this one I'm actually kind of interested in. So we'll see how it goes. Because, dude,
I definitely gonna have to rewatch
all
the Toy Story movies.
Yeah. I'm sitting here very much wishing that Buzz Lightyear Star Command was on Disney Plus, because I like
maybe
show.
They'll do it closer to when when this gets released.
Because I wondered, because there were so many other shows on there, and I was like, wait, they never put this one on there, and maybe this is why. Maybe they were holding it in their back pocket for the release of this movie or something. I don't know.
I can see them doing that.
Well, that's all we got for news, but as Chrissy said, this is the day after Halloween, which means it is November 1st.
Indeed.
Means it's a new month. Oh my God. It's the second last month of the year. Oh my God.
I know. I was going through some stuff I was going through some stuff at work and was all like, oh, it's November already. Holy crap.
Yeah. How did that happen? Wasn't it just July a few minutes ago?
Seriously?
Right?
I want to go back to July. Not the heat, but
yeah, I was gonna say my Halloween candy would be melting. So
Yes. But anyway, so new month, new book club poll, new book club book.
Yes. So the new book club for the month of November is Wheel of Ice. That is a second Doctor book with Jamie and Zoe. The December poll is Land of the Dead, which is an audio with Seven and I believe Mel. Resurrection Casket, a 10th Doctor and Rose book. Cricket Men, Doctor Who and the Cricket Men, a 4th Doctor adventure, and then the Gallifrey Chronicles. Those are your choices.
Cool. And yeah, Wheel of Ice. I've read it a while ago. I remember liking it. It's been a while, so.
I remember reading it when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
So and I remember enjoying it, so I think it's high time to go back for a reread.
Indeed. So yeah, it should be readily available, Amazon or your local library.
Yes.
Those kinds of places. So.
Because it came out in 2012.
Yes. Which is almost 10 years ago. Speaking of the end of the year. Holy cow.
I was just about to say, in a couple of months, that's 10 years.
Yep.
I don't like this. Time needs to slow down.
Oh my goodness.
Especially when I realized how long it's been since Cars came out. And I'm like, no, it's still brand new. You shut your face.
Yeah.
I want to be ignorantly blissful of how old Cars is right at the moment.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice segue because we don't have any feedback. So,
okay. Fair enough.
Yep. So, there's our segue into this week's main topic, which, yes, it's in fact one of the videos that I'll have linked in the show notes is some of the cast talking about some of their favorite scenes, and Larry the Cable Guy is like, yep, 15 years. It's the first Cars movie. And I'm like, oh my God.
Please don't tell me that, Larry.
Yeah. Yeah. 15 years since the first Cars movie, 10 years since the second, and next year it'll be 5 years since the third.
Oi.
So,
man.
So 3 movies in the last 15 years. Plus the shorts.
The shorts are so funny.
Yes. Mater's Tall Tales. Plus the attractions at the parks.
Yes.
So, yeah. But they're such good movies.
Yes.
Though.
So I'm going not necessarily a soapbox. I'm not gonna get up on a soapbox, but I'm just gonna kind of talk about why. I mean, I'm sure we all have our reasons why we like these movies. For me, and this kind of goes back to where like the town I grew up in, especially that scene where in Radiator Springs where Sally is telling Lightning like, okay, yeah, this is the freeway bypassed it, and so it used to be this great hopping town on Route 66, and there are all these stores and all these businesses and all these things. It was just a friendly place, and then the freeway bypassed it, and now it's like a ghost town. And I'm like, I grew up in a town very much like that. It wasn't on Route 66 because we were nowhere near it, but there was a highway which actually my dad, my grandparents' house, it's still their house is still there on that road, the main street. It was like the highway for like all the hippies going to California pass through there basically. And and so like I
every
grew up on
Fillmore from
yes,
from C to
exactly. And like my grandpa would tell us stories about how there's just these random strangers that were driving in the middle of the night and just needed a place to stay, or they ran out of money, or they needed someone to call, and just my grandparents, they were these they were farmers and very down to earth, salt of the earth type of people, and you kind of have this stereotype, I guess, is like small town America is distrustful of anything new or odd coming through. And it was just like, nah, like grandpa would invite him in, play him some songs on the guitar, feed him some lamb stew, and in the morning they'd be on their way. And at the time my dad was he was a little boy, and maybe grandma wasn't too thrilled about having strangers in her house with her young son and everything, but it's just kind of funny, just some of the things that they talk about. And and growing up, I could see remnants of like the old motel or the old cafe or the drugstore where my grandma worked. It used to be, well, there were still some old timers who'd come in and have their morning coffee at the little cafe bar thing in there, and all these different things. So like I grew up hearing stories about the heyday of our little town and all these things, but then the freeway came through and people didn't have to go through town anymore. And so like this story of a small town that kind of was forgotten because time marches on and things change and people just kind of forget. It kind of hit home for me. And then I was like, oh, this is such a good movie, I love it. And then I hear people talk about, oh, this doesn't make any sense, like Cars, like why are they cars? It does, why do they they have a bathroom at the race, and that's just stupid, and all these little nitpicky details. I'm like, no, guys, you don't understand why this movie is so important and why why it resonates. And a lot of these critics were like, from the big city, so what the hell do they know about living in a little town that has gotten that its best days, quote unquote, are behind it. I mean, but things change, and things have actually changed for the better for the town, because a lot of other things came in. Some people moved in, and like it's close enough to Salt Lake City where people, if they don't want to live in the city but they can still commute into the city to go to work, but they want to live a little further out in the country. So now it's kind of become almost a suburb, but not quite. It's kind of in this weird middle part. So it's just interesting to see how, change comes and things change, and the old adage, you can't go home again. But at the same time, it's like, sometimes things just change for the better, and which ends up happening to Radiator Springs by the end of the movie. So that's why this movie has just been it's just I've had a soft spot in my heart for it since the day I saw it in the theaters, and I'm like, I love this movie, and that's why.
Yeah. Well, when the first movie was released, that was back when I was in like my peak NASCAR fanatic.
Same here.
Stage.
Same here.
Yeah. So I immediately
my dad
had
actually
a soft
sat down
spot
and watched this one with me.
Yeah, I immediately had a soft spot, at the very least, for all the cameos of various NASCAR drivers. Like the King is literally the King, Richard Petty, and his wife. And you've got Darrell Waltrip. Daryl Cartrip, one of the announcers, doing his boogity 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 that he does at the beginning of every race. So you've got
and a cameo by Dale
Earnhardt Jr. Yeah, Jeff Gordon ends up becoming a character in 2 and 3. So at least for the first 2 movies, I was still in. Maybe not so much the second. I was starting to peter off by then. It's not I since both of my drivers retired, I don't watch the sport anymore. So.
Well, you have your favorites,
and check standings, and then and then the rules have changed so much since way back then. It's just like
so it's like it was a time of my life where I was into that and other things that were related to it, that kind of overlap in that Venn diagram of NASCAR fans and other related things. It's just I've changed as a person, and but even then, just watching these movies again, I was like, go boogity boogity boogity.
Yes. And the kicker was too, at the end of this movie, they even brought in Formula One, because we have Guido who's talking the Formula One racing, and my dad and I kind of followed Formula One at that time too. So when the Michael Schumacher car came, my dad's, that's actually him. I'm like,
So he had the same reaction as Luigi and Guido.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So
man.
yeah, and then you get more the mix in the second movie, so you get a combination of NASCAR and open wheel and Formula One and all sorts of things. So, but yeah, for me at least, when the franchise was new, my NASCAR loving heart was all like, yeah. It's like, I'm getting all of these references.
Yes.
So, yeah. But even now, even though I'm not necessarily a fan of the sport anymore, I still really enjoyed the rewatching these. And I had not seen actually the third one yet, so that was nice to get a chance to watch, because they're all on Disney Plus, but it had been a long time since I'd seen the first and second one, and I like the second one. Screw the people that got it sitting at 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. I really like the second one. I know it's a huge departure from
it very
the
much
first
is.
one, where his first one, although they have some similarities, because you got the first one, you've got Lightning McQueen ends up in this middle of nowhere town, so he's the famous race car,
Kind of like
the
Doc
fast
Hollywood,
life.
but he's not a doctor.
Yeah, he's used to the fast life and all the attention and everything, and so he's kind of the fish out of water in this podunk little town where everybody moves slower and everybody knows everybody and everybody's willing to to help out their neighbor or their friend when they need help with something. And then you get the second one and you put Lightning back in his element, but then you bring Mater along and Mater gets to be the fish out of water.
Yeah. Which again, I am still probably one of those. It's like, why did you make a second movie? Because the first one was just so pitch perfect. But then again, the second one, I think it was the first Pixar sequel. It was one of the first, if not the first. And it was just kind of like, why is Pixar doing sequels? Because they'd had so many really good standalone movies, and we were just kind of coming out of that Disney sequel, direct to DVD sequel thing, and we're just like, why are we doing this again? Like, Pixar, what's going on? And so that I think is part of why it's gotten so mixed. The reception was so mixed. I mean, it was just like, what else is there left to tell? And what are you doing? And Mater, what the frick?
Hey, but when you got Larry the Cable Guy acting across from Michael Caine,
this is true. This is true. I mean, you just got to go with the insanity of it. And I love Larry the Cable Guy. I will admit it up and down. That the blue collar comedy and all that kind of stuff, that is my cup of tea. I follow that, and it's a hoot. So yeah, I'm a fan of Larry the Cable Guy. Again, screw the haters. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, just that first one just really just resonated with me, and I'm like, no, I don't need a sequel. Go away. But I did watch the third one, and the third one was fine. It's still, I still just love the first one so much that I'm like, okay, I get why they did this, and I get that this is probably a good next step for the story. I still love the first one. It's just there. But but it is a logical step, because it's like, okay, Lightning McQueen was the hot shot rookie, and he so what happens when the shoe's on the other foot and he starts getting upstaged by all these other new the new hotness coming up, and he doesn't want to retire,
which is kind of why I left the sport.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get that. There have been players of many sports. I'm like, oh, I love these guys, and I want to follow them, and then they retire, and it's just not the same after they leave.
No.
And I
It's
still
just not the same.
enjoy it. I still enjoy watching, but now it's like to kind of make fun of all the stupid things that are going on, and especially the NFL and some of these other things. But yeah,
And
but
it's
that's
like,
another
man,
story.
numbers have changed, sponsors have changed. Who's in charge of the championship? That title's been changed.
Yeah.
Race points have changed.
Yes, it's like
It's been more than
it's like,
15 years, and I still need that tattoo that I've got changed.
what the F is
Wait,
a
what?
catch? Yeah. And again, I mean, for a story that's about change, ultimately, it's kind of appropriate that that's what we're bringing up. It's like, oh yeah, I used to love this, and this, and now it's different, and I'm just not into it anymore. But you still have fond memories of it.
Oh yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, the best thing. Well, there are a lot of best things, but one of my favorite things about having children is that I get to introduce them to all of these fun things that I love. And Alex, I showed him Cars, and he took to it like a duck takes to water. Like, holy cow, he loves it. And he's like, he wanted to watch all the Mater shorts, and he. We watched Cars 3. He kind of watched Cars 2, but wasn't that interested. He kept coming back to the first one, and it's Lightning McQueen, and he wanted all. And we had a Cars birthday cake for him for his birthday this past year, and just all these. It's just like I love. So it's like it's not that all change is bad. I mean, but it's like it's just things are different, but they're also different in a good way. Because I've got my little boy who he loves this movie that I introduced him to, that I love, and he's just eating it up. Absolutely. And I'm like, oh, this is so much fun. This is why being a parent is awesome. It's like, yeah, it's kind of fussy kids and messes and sickness and all that stuff, but then you have this, and he just wants to cuddle up with you and watch Cars. And you quote it with him, and then he wanted me to sing the Sheryl Crow song at the beginning, when they're all racing around, and I have that soundtrack still. I love the music, love it, because I love Brad Paisley, and he's got a couple songs on there too.
Well, yeah, he does the closing song for both 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just one of those, nice feel good movies, but it's also funny. Just, there's always there's the humor for grown-ups, there's the humor for kids, there's the humor that everybody gets. I mean, holy cow, Guido. It's just, I adore Guido. I want a Funko Pop of Guido. I don't think they make them, but I want one. He's like, beat stop.
Yeah. Yeah. They're so visually. I mean, we talked about this when we talked about the Monsters Inc. movies too.
Yeah.
But
there's so many Easter eggs.
There's just so many Easter eggs and references, and not just. Again, you're gonna have your traditional Pixar Easter eggs, your A113, the Pizza Planet truck, the Pixar ball.
Yeah.
References to other Pixar movies.
Yeah.
All over the place, but having this particular part of the Pixar universe with the Cars, you wouldn't necessarily think with movies where there are literally no human beings, no even anthropomorphically shaped anything.
No,
at least with Monsters Inc. At least some of them, they have arms and legs and stuff. But no, these are cars that they happen to have mouths and therefore tongues and eyes.
Yeah,
but that's it.
Yeah.
Well,
and like Disney, they did this years and years ago. There was a cartoon that was about talking cars. Those little shorts from 50s, 40s, and 50s. And the way they were designed, because when I was growing up, and there were like, little short shows about animated cars. The eyes were the headlights. But in that one, and I wish I remember what the name of it was. Something, I don't know. There is, it's just about a car. It doesn't have Mickey or Minnie or Daisy or Donald or any of those in there. But the cars, the windshields were the eyes. And now then Cars did it again, because I remember seeing some behind the scenes thing and like, yeah, this is where we took that inspiration from. And now that's what you see with any kind of animated car thing. Low budget stuff. It's like, oh, now Cars, their windshields are their eyes,
which I think it does look better. Because they did it so that they could be more expressive, and I think they're absolutely right. I think it does give them way more options, and the ability to have them be way more expressive. So
yes, absolutely. And all like the jokes and things is like, I've seen so many blog posts are like, well, how does this work in this world, and how does, like, if they have doors, do people drive them? And all these things. Like, guys, it's a joke. Yeah. Just relax. The MST3K mantra. It's just a movie. You should just relax. And
there was one video I was watching. I'll have it linked in the show notes. That's the Film Theorist.
Oh,
if you've ever seen any of his stuff. He showed a clip of something. I don't know if it's like off of a Blu-ray or DVD or something, and I guess somebody asked the animators about how the cars live, and they're like, we're gonna stop the interview now. But supposedly one rogue animator in an interview somewhere at one time went off script, and apparently said that the reason that you'll never see any of the cars open their doors is because that's where their brains are.
Oh my gosh.
So the Film Theorist has this whole video about how the cars are actually a very, very evolved form of insect.
Okay, now we're getting silly.
Yeah. Well, trying to figure out how they fit into the overall Pixar theory.
Well,
is a whole other conversation we should probably have at some other time. But yeah, there was one blogger at one time that had started this thing, and there's several other YouTubers that still try, the Super Carlin brothers. Anytime a new Pixar movie comes out, they try to figure out how it fits into the Pixar theory. Is the idea that all the Pixar films are in the same universe, but not only that you can put them in a particular timeline so that they work.
Oh man. Now, what I'm picturing executives, writers at Pixar going okay, how can we really screw with these people?
Which makes you wonder about Lightyear, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, it's I bet you that was maybe not the only reason, but a reason for Lightyear, because it's like, here, they've got this theory on the internet, let's screw with them.
Yeah.
Okay, fit this in there.
Let's pull a John Lennon and just do something completely outrageous, and then let them try and figure it out.
Yes. I
love that.
I've seen so many blog posts about the Pixar theory that I'm just like, okay, guys, I'm done. And so, the fact that but now that I have this image of guys at Pixar trying to mess with these Pixar theory guys, it kind of fills me with glee.
Yeah. Yeah, I have an old college acquaintance that works at Pixar, but I don't think he's necessarily high enough in the chain that
he would be able to make those kinds of decisions.
Yes. Yeah. He just animates the trees and plants and stuff. So.
Well, someone has to do that too.
He's a set dresser. Yeah,
that works.
Hey, which it's somebody's got to do it.
I mean, those beautiful landscapes as they're driving through the canyon there. That isn't going to animate itself.
Oh my god, I love that. And Sally takes Lightning for the drive, and he's like, "Where are we going?" No, we're just going for a drive.
We're just going for a drive, and so many of those. I mean, a lot of it is because it's called Ornament Valley, which to me brings to mind Hood Ornament, but like Monument Valley in southern Utah.
Yeah,
and
that
like,
too.
And like all of those things of like, yeah, this is the sort of stuff, like especially up in the canyon when they're driving. This is the sort of thing I grew up, driving up when we go camping or things like that, or go to Bear Lake. And I mean, and I'm even, impressed with the animation of, wow, you guys did an amazing job making those scenes, those landscapes, all of that just looks so good and so realistic, even though it's like, yeah, they're like car hoods. You look at them long enough, but it's not like in your face. It's kind of subtle the way they kind of work all that car imagery in to the natural landscape. And I love it. It's one of those, it's like, I want a coffee table book with all that is just cars backgrounds and scenery and things, just so I can stare at it and be like, I love this. This is so pretty. Can I frame some of these and put them up on my wall?
Yeah, really.
Right?
Well, and then at not Disneyland, at California Adventure, they have Cars Land. It's an entire land dedicated to Cars, which opened the year after Cars 2 was released. So I'm sure that helped pay for it.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was a $1 billion expansion on the park, so the money had to come from somewhere. But they have,
after they figured out, oh, people are coming to California, they're actually going to go to California things. We don't have to recreate it in the park. So here, let's do a Pixar thing.
Yeah, but they have the Radiator Springs Racers, which the first like half or of the ride is taking you through different places in Radiator Springs. So like you go by the you go tractor tipping with Mater. In one scene, and but it takes you around the butte, and just like in the movie where they round the corner and you see the waterfall, you get that same reveal with the music from the movie, and it is like goosebump inducing every time. That's like my favorite part of the entire attraction. And then they eventually take you to Luigi, and he gets you some tires, and Ramon gets you a paint job, and it's you and another ride vehicle, and it's a race. So you race another car, as a sprint, which is really cool. It's a really, really cool attraction. And then they had another one based around Luigi, but I think since I was there, that one has been removed, I think, or they've changed it a little. It wasn't open when I was there. It hadn't opened yet because it didn't open until 2016. But they have Mater's Junkyard Jamboree, where you ride little tractors and they spin around kind of like the teacups. But Mater has all these songs that he sings, and they are hilarious.
Is Dad Gum one of them?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you have to. If you haven't seen it, you got to watch Heavy Metal Mater on Disney Plus. It's one of the little shorts.
Yeah. But then they have like the Flo's V8 Cafe, which is a restaurant, the Cozy Cone Motel, which is like snacks and stuff. But they have one of the best snacks, and Lou agrees with me. Here we are getting to food. Talking about something Disney. We're gonna get to food eventually. They have different, like 2 or 3 different like dishes that you can get that they're served. If you've ever been to like a Panera or something where you can get like soup in like a bread bowl, where they take the bread and they scoop it out and mix it a bowl. These are bread cones.
Nice.
Ooh, nice.
and I forget what the other flavors are. I think there's maybe like a walking taco type one. I think maybe, and maybe like a carne asada or something. Anyway, the one that I ate as often as I could when I was at Disneyland is it's macaroni and cheese with bacon.
Ooh, yum.
And it is the best thing ever.
Yeah,
Sounds like it.
Yeah, we went to last time I was at Disneyland. I think it was starting to open, or like they had a few things open there. And we were gonna try the Radiator Springs racers, but the line was so stinking long. And
yeah, because it was like the hottest thing for several years.
Yeah, but we went into the cozy cone and looked around and stuff like that. So it was, I was like, oh man, I got to come back here and check this out. And obviously we haven't been back since, but it's it looks really good. Just the whole, it's like, oh, it's
every now and then I will
life.
daydream about bacon mac and cheese in a cone from the cozy cone.
So
yeah, I had mac and cheese for dinner tonight, but that sounds like so much better than what I had.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, people are kind of cynical about cars, like, oh, it's just there to sell toys, but it's like they take a lot of care and effort with it. With the attraction of the park.
Yeah. I mean, Cars Land. I mean, as soon as you step into it, it feels like you walked into Radiator Springs. Like, and with all the buildings that you expect, and they're right where they belong, and you've got the fountain, with the founder, next to
Stanley.
The fountain of Stanley right next to the courthouse / firehouse / slash everything.
Yeah.
You've got Fillmore's tent. Where you can buy some organic fuel, man. And at nighttime it's even better with all the neon, because it's all all the traditional neon.
It's all lit up.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's making me miss Disneyland even more.
Sounds like you need to plan a trip, my friend.
I do. I need to get back to Disneyland. It's been too long.
Yeah.
There's a cozy cone with my name on it.
Yeah. Oh, and it's got a great story. It's just like, you set aside the fact that they're talking cars. The story, it's just
yeah.
It's awesome. It's just like you need your team. You can try going alone and let your pride get the better of you, but you find out, hey, I'm better with family.
Yeah. And Pixar is known for their, their heartfelt tearjerker sort of things, but for some, whatever reason, this one, they talk about Up, and they talk about Inside Out, and they talk about Finding Nemo and The Incredibles, which are all great, but they don't, people don't really bring this one up, where it's like, it's got the story of it's so, this town of basically misfits, because these are the people that stuck around after everyone else left, because there's all those other boarded up stores. It's like, well, who ran those? Who was in charge of that? Well, they've all gone, because the town's basically, it's dead. It's not what it used to be. So it happens. You have to do what you have to do. But these are the ones who've stayed, and there's even Sarge and Fillmore, who they don't get along, but they still
turn off that music, you hippie.
You turn that disrespectful junk off. Don't embarrass me, Fillmore. Just these side characters.
It's classic. It's Hendrix.
Yeah. Or I mean, Guido and Luigi, these little Italian cars. It's like, how did you find your way out here in the middle of nowhere? And they're just, it's like they just, you have your little town, and you have, your place, and again, from my point of view, growing up where I did, everyone's like, oh, I can't wait to get out of here and go, live in the city, which is kind of ironic given that that's kind of what I did. But there are times that I'm just like, oh man, I wonder what's going on, and I wonder how so and so's doing. And I mean, just those kinds of things. And when I do go back and visit, I'm like, oh, it's so different, and it's just not what I remember.
Mhm.
And that's just part of time. But it's like these are things that hit people, that this is a story worth telling, and a story. It's about anthropomorphized cars. This is the way they chose to tell the story. They could have done it with, I don't know, bunnies or beavers or something else. I don't know. They could have done it with anything, but they chose to do it, as an homage to Route 66, which is kind of amazing. And it wasn't just, and again, like I said, it wasn't just Route 66 that this happened to. It's wherever there was a major highway that it was replaced with a freeway, or any kind of small town that this is, time marches on, and that small town life just kind of it fades if you don't hang on to it, or it changes, or you have to adapt with the times. But there's still that sort of hometown, small town feeling of neighbors and people helping out, and this is our town. And even if you've got your crazy neighbor who's playing music at a gazillion decibels at 5 a.m, or that crazy weirdo that is, I don't know, but whatever else is going on. But it's like, well, they're my crazy weirdos, like like you just lay off. But yeah,
or those people that you've grown to love with the personality quirks, if they disappear, you're gonna miss them.
Exactly. It's like, where did you guys go? We miss you, and all that stuff. And it's just those little things, and it's not just nostalgia, although that does play a part of it. But it's also it's what made you who you are. All those funny little quirks, and all those funny little experiences, and all those funny little people that maybe annoyed the crap out of you at the time, and maybe some of them were actually jerks at some point. But it's still like, I saw a quote today. It's like, yeah, maybe you had some bad experiences, but they made you who you are. And it's just, I mean, there's just so many really good messages in the Cars story and the franchise as a whole. And I feel like we're by ignoring it, or by writing it off as, oh, it's just a thing to sell toys, I think people are missing out on what it actually has to offer. And I think it's a shame that people just write it off, maybe just because maybe they don't understand, maybe they just don't quite connect with that small town mentality, or even the NASCAR fan thing, because that's something that can be special too. Like Holly, you were talking about, you watched it with your dad, and all these different things, and it's like, these things are special to people for different reasons. Just because some New York City critic doesn't get it, well, that's their problem.
Yeah, like my dad always said, don't believe the critics, you trust your own self-critic.
Exactly. So, and I've had to learn that, especially over the years, because when I went and saw this movie, I was in college, and I just went by myself, because it was just sort of a thing. Like, I didn't really want to wait for everybody to be ready to go. I was like, I'll just go do it. I'll just go watch it myself. So I was just, in the place the town I went to college, and I'm like, at the end of the movie, I'm just bawling, and I'm like, oh, I miss all these things. And so, yeah, it's still just as much a gut punch as, pick any other Pixar tearjerker movie you wish to name. It belongs up there with the Wall-E's and the Incredibles and the Finding Nemos and all of them. So fight me on this.
Yeah. Me and my bread cone full of macaroni and cheese will take you down.
Yep.
Oh, I'll go have a bread cone full of macaroni and cheese. That's another
Yeah.
fun small town thing. It's like all the quirky food we come up with,
Mhm.
Yep.
slathered in gravy, and don't you just love it?
Mhm.
Hometown special: sweet potato fries and biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh. So yeah. So 3 feature films, a whole bunch of
the Mater shorts are
cartoons. Yeah, Mater's
Yeah.
Tall Tales, and then Tales from Radiator Springs.
yes.
And then we're supposed to be
Mhm.
getting some sort of Lightning McQueen and Mater series on Disney Plus next year.
Ah.
Ooh, cool.
That apparently is also going to include some of the characters from Planes.
Yeah, Planes was a
Interesting.
thing.
Mhm.
I've never seen Planes.
Yeah,
That
there's
was
Planes and
one-
then Planes Fire and Rescue.
Yeah.
Mhm. It
Planes,
was.
it kind of flew under the radar, and
Pun
it was
intended.
like, well, sure. Well,
Sure.
we'll go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll own that one. Yeah, I like it wasn't until like I was working at the library, and it was I was checking in a bunch of movies, and I was like, wait a minute, they made Planes, and it's in the Cars universe now. Planes isn't Pixar, it's Disney animation, but it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
basically based on a few planes you see in the Cars movie, like when they're doing the flyover for the
Officially,
race.
it is a spin-off, even though, yeah, it is
Yeah.
not. It's Disney Toon Studios, not Pixar.
Yeah, because they're and they do the flyover right before the big race at the California Speedway, and it's like, that's them. Those are the Planes.
Mhm.
And they made a movie of it, which I'm like, sure. I haven't watched it just because
Huh.
like I said, I totally missed it when it was
Yeah.
out, but it was probably one of those that sort of that Disney era after the Renaissance, where there was all kinds of sort of low budget stuff that didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
But there it is, Planes. It's a
Yep.
thing.
Oh. But I mean, overall, if you include the Planes spin-off movies, it is the 10th highest grossing animated franchise, earning over $1.7 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the original Cars was number 1 at the box office its opening weekend,
Mm-hmm.
earning $60 million. And then it actually held the number 1 spot for 2 weeks. And then went on to gross $461 million worldwide,
Wow.
making it number 6 in 2006 as far as box office returns, and $244 million in the U.S. So 3rd highest grossing film of 2006 in the country, behind Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and Night at the Museum.
Not bad company.
Nope.
It was the highest grossing animated film of 2006, until Ice Age: The Meltdown,
Yeah.
as far as worldwide is concerned. So
Yeah. 2006 was kind of an odd year for animated movies, as I
Mhm.
remember it. But yeah, so
yeah, because
So-
the second one was the first time I think that a Pixar movie had not been nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards in like several years, I think.
yeah. Which again, snobs.
Yeah. Yeah, because the first Cars movie won.
No, the first Cars movie was nominated, but it didn't win.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other things it won. Like it won the Hollywood Film Festival.
Yeah.
Best Animation of the Year, National Board Review. It was nominated for Best Animated Feature, and Our Town was nominated for Best Original Song, but it did not win.
Yeah. Happy Feet won Best Animated Feature.
Yeah.
Which I saw that movie and I thought it was stupid.
I saw it and thought it was cute, but that was it.
Well, okay, it was cute up until like the last half
Yeah.
hour, and then it turned stupid.
Yeah. So it
You're
did
right,
win Best
Rachel.
Animated Film for the Golden Globes.
Well, good on the Golden Globes.
So
You're right. 2006 was kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Happy Feet,
Mm-hmm.
Flushed Away, Over
Oh,
the Hedge.
The only thing I remember about Over the Hedge is the scene where the squirrel drinks Red Bull and everything stops.
Yes.
That's the only thing I remember about that movie.
Well, and then he also had a fascination, I think, with cookies, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Instead of an acorn.
Yes. It was a bit of a rip off of Ice Age, although wasn't it the same studio? I don't
yeah, I think so.
can't
I
remember.
think so. I think. Wait, was Over the Hedge DreamWorks? I don't remember.
or Blue Sky. I don't know. By now 2006 is so far away that I'm just like, I think about it like, oh, that was 2006. Holy cow, I'm old.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Which again brings us back to I'm realizing when Cars came out and how long it's been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like
I'm trying to
Lightning,
think of-
I feel
did
like
the
Lightning
math,
McQueen
figured out
training.
how old I was. Yeah.
I feel like Lightning McQueen did when he was training Cruz to be his protege, or
Yeah.
how all that shook out.
It's like, how old do you think I am? When she's constantly
Mhm.
talking about how old he is.
She's like, and you did this and blah 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 blah. And it's like, wait a minute,
How old do you think I am?
just passing it on to the next generation, I guess.
Yep.
I have to admit, I was afraid that, like, when I first saw it, I loved it, but I was afraid I was going to hate it because I used to have to watch it all the time because at the time I babysit the 3-year-old boy who loved it and watched
Yes.
it every day, and that's his nap time movie. So like, the only way we can get him to take a nap is have that movie on and him like laying on me, trying to get him to sleep. So like I watched that probably was like almost every day, like a summer. But no, I still love it. So yay!
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And there's always a possibility we can get another one. Maybe.
Oh, always, yeah. I mean,
They could
we're-
squeak out another Toy Story. Why not squeak out another?
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
Mhm.
Although at this point, Owen
I know.
Wilson can just like coast because he's got the Pixar money coming in one way and the Marvel money
Marvel
coming in
money
another.
Yeah.
So-
I was gonna say he's under the same umbrella. So I mean, because some of the
Yeah.
shorts, it's obvious it's not him voicing Lightning.
no.
Although most of those are the Mater's Tall Tales, so the main point is Mater. So you
Yeah,
don't really.
right.
It's okay that Lightning isn't Owen Wilson.
Yeah, and
Um,
Larry is definitely doing the voice on those because
Oh yes.
if it wasn't for Mater, I don't think Larry the Cable Guy would probably get as much work as,
Mhm.
Yeah.
as for this. So
But yeah, it's like, so if you haven't seen the Mater's Tall Tales, I mean, you have to. I mean, it's in the title, Mater's Tall Tales. Like it's him talking about doing all these crazy things, like being in a metal band or being a monster truck.
yeah, at the very
or-
least, watch the Heavy Metal Mater one. That's
Heavy
one's my
Metal
favorite.
Mater. And that
Yes.
one is hilarious. It's just, I mean, they're all pretty funny, but that one I think is the best because they're like. Yeah, they're singing in like this little, garage band, and then something happens while they're recording, and it starts their Dad Gum song turns into a heavy
Turns
metal
into
song.
Mhm.
Metallica, Guns N' Roses esque.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
and
One of the
it's-
guys in the band's wearing that what's his face's hat.
Yeah,
from Guns N'
Oh,
Roses Slash. Yes.
yeah,
So
and at the end of everyone, like Lightning McQueen goes, "Oh, I didn't know you did that," and Mater goes, "Well, why not? You were there too." And he like pulls, so it cuts back to the thing, and then it has Lightning in there doing something bizarre, and it's so.
Yeah.
I mean, there is definitely a formula to it, but they're like what 10 minutes long, if that. They're short, they're funny, and they're just hilarious.
Yeah.
And then the other one I like is I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like the Radiator Springs. They're having like Founders Day, and they're like going to go on this nice easy ride that is like it reenacts the where their founder Stanley, how he founded Radiator Springs, and then all these big race cars show up, and then Mater tells them, okay, well, and they're like, oh, this ain't a tough thing, and you guys are all just a bunch of country bumpkins, and Lightning's up there dressed as Stanley, so it's kind of doesn't really help his case, but he kind of, but Lightning takes it personal, so he's like, well, we're gonna race these guys, and so Mater tells them the course. Well, they get mixed up and they end up going the wrong way, and so everything that was supposed to be nice and easy and sweet is just really, it's hardcore and it's dangerous and all these things. So by the time they get back to Radiator Springs, the race cars, the hotshot race cars were like, dang, your founder was one tough guy, and all this stuff. And in the meantime, Mater and Sally and everybody else, they're taking the easy way around the real course that Stanley took. And it's just funny for them to cut between, and Mater's like doing his best tour guide voice, being because he takes over being Stanley, and it's just funny. And that Lightning gets lost with him too. But it's just those little things, like you see that Lightning's made Radiator Springs his home and his his headquarters, his base, and he's to the point he's dressing up as Stanley for Founders Day. I mean, like, oh, you are adorable. So yeah, all that's on Disney Plus if you haven't seen it, and whether or not you have kids, like I said, I've watched all these because my son loves them. But yeah, you just gotta watch them. They're cute.
Yeah.
And yep. And it's something they do routinely, and I kind of dig it.
Yep. Yeah, and as an adult, you can play. Where do I know that voice from?
Right. Yes.
Because it's like you've got like your obviously you've got Owen Wilson's Lightning McQueen. You got Larry the Cable Guy is Tow Mater. So you're like to very obvious recognizable names there. But you've got like Cheech Marin as Ramon. George Carlin as Fillmore in the first one. Unfortunately, he passed away. And then so did Paul Newman as Doc.
Yes.
Passed away after the first movie was done. So
which is that is one thing I like about the third movie, is like they use it as a way to kind of pay homage to Paul Newman. While telling the story about Doc and sort of his rise,
and they were able to use some unused audio.
So it's still him playing it. They just they work their audio wizardry to make it work. So it's
they poke fun. It not so much with the second and third movie. There's not really anything that happens during the credits other than just visuals. But the during the credits for the first one, though, it's hilarious when they go to the drive-in. And you've got Mac talking about they're watching Cars versions of other Pixar movies. So there's a toy car story, but then you've got Mac talking about like Ham, and then the Yeti in Monsters Inc. And he's talking about how this actor is great, and then by A Bug's Life, he's like, wait a minute, they're just using the same actor over and over again.
What kind of cut rate production is this? And it's John Ratzenberger.
The fact that John Ratzenberger is literally in every Pixar movie, he's considered like their golden like
Yes.
Goose. Like
They're
if
good
John
but
doesn't
sharp.
doesn't voice something in a Pixar movie, it's
Mhm.
it's guaranteed it'll bomb.
Yeah.
So
He's
Yes.
the Stan Lee of the Pixar.
yes, of the
Yes.
Pixar.
Yes.
Yes, and and this took me a while to figure out. He's actually in Coco. He is
Uh-huh.
the guy who he's on his dentist ofrenda, and so and he's got these braces. So he's talking through his braces. So he says gracias. So you can't tell that
that's right.
he doesn't have a Hispanic accent,
yeah.
but it's still him.
Yeah.
And he's
Oh.
credited. The character is named Juan Orthodontia.
Nice.
So he is in it. He's just his voice is very much masked, so he doesn't stand out because Coco is it's Coco.
Because pretty much in every movie, every Pixar movie, regardless of the character, he just sounds like Cliff Clavin. So
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
pretty much.
John Ratzenberger doesn't do voices; he just talks like himself.
Yes.
Which is Cliff Clavin.
Mhm.
Yep.
So yeah, and then they get like the other Pixar cast back just to do the Cars versions of
Yes, and it's just funny.
movies. So it's like
Yeah.
you get back, Billy Crystal and John Goodman and
Mhm.
Tom Hanks just for these
Yep.
tiny little bits.
Yeah,
They're only
'cause-
gonna appear during the credits.
although because I'm trying to think the timing of it. I think at least one of them they probably were working on at the same time, like probably either Monsters Inc. or Toy Story 2. They may have had them there anyway, so they said, "Hey,
Maybe.
could you record these few lines for us?"
Yeah.
Or maybe it was both of them. I don't.
think it was.
I
I
don't.
thought
remember.
Toy Story 2 came out earlier than that. I
Maybe.
think I remember being younger when I saw Toy Story 2.
Maybe. I feel like at least one of them it was being made about the same time, and so I'm like, oh yeah, I could see you guys just saying, "Hey, while you're here, please read
Mhm.
these lines for us."
Maybe.
I don't know, but yeah, so they had some fun with the credits and stuff like that.
Toy Story 3 probably, at least for those, because Toy Story 3 was
Okay.
2010-ish. So
Yeah, Toy
yeah.
Toy Story 2 came out in '99.
and then Monsters University
Right.
was 2014. So and
okay.
the Pixar movies they have to are worked years in advance because of
the computer animation is not an overnight thing.
Yeah. Well, even just for the first, even for the first Cars, which the first Cars was Pixar's 7th movie, I think. So technology had gotten a little better. So by this point, they had the computers they were using were 4 times faster than the one used for The Incredibles, and 1,000 times faster than the ones used for Toy Story.
Wow.
But it still took.
Wow.
Remember how we were talking about how long it took to render out just a frame with Sully in it because of all of his hair.
Yeah.
So even with the faster computers at this point, a frame of Cars took an average of 17 hours to render.
Whew.
Wow.
So, and that was in 15 years ago. So
yeah, they've probably gotten faster since, but they are also getting
well,
more and more.
and they've gotten a bit more money because this was the last movie produced by Pixar independently before Disney officially bought the companies.
Right.
Steve Jobs is like, oh yeah, sure, hand me the check. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we'll do this.
Yes.
Fast forward to now when Disney owns everything.
Everything. Like I said, Owen Wilson, he's got various revenue streams coming from the House of Mouse.
Yeah. He's in the same proverbial building, so they could definitely get him down the hall. Like, hey, could you come record some lines as Lightning? Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very distinctive. The guy that does Lightning's voice for the shorts is not bad.
No, I mean, and there are some times, and I'm like, oh, is that Owen Wilson? It's like it sounds a bit off, but it could be him. But it's definitely
some of them
sound-alike.
are Owen, some of them are the other guy.
Yeah. So and it's mostly the Mater's Tall Tales, I think, are the other guy, but like the some of the other ones, I can't think of what they're called. The ones that are not Mater's Tall Tales. The ones about the Radiator Springs race and the
Tales from Radiator Springs.
Yeah, Tales from Radiator Springs. I think those are Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Because there's some that were like on TV that they're him, because they want, if it's going to be on ABC or whatever, they want the actual guy.
Yeah. I didn't know this, but they would replace some of the voices for other releases in other countries. So like Lightning's agent, Harv, in the US, it's Jeremy Piven. In the UK, it's Jeremy Clarkson.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's kind of hilarious, because if you don't know, Jeremy
from Top
Clarkson,
Gear,
Top Gear,
he is the he is the he is the Gordon Ramsay of Cars.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily, I don't mean the movie franchise, I just mean of vehicle fans, if you've ever watched Top Gear.
He does, shall we put it this way, he's a car snap.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. Yeah, he's the guy.
He is to vehicles what Gordon Ramsay is to food.
Yeah. He is the guy in the meme where you'll see it like one panel, he's like, oh no, and the next panel, anyway.
Yep, that's the guy.
Yep. So, and then in the second movie, when they go to, was it Guido's like family's house for like dinner when they get to Italy? Where he's like, no, my friends aren't going to stay in a hotel, they're going to stay with family. Excuse me, because sneeze, maybe. Nope, lost it. Just like later. I'll find it later. His uncle Uncle Topolino and Mama Topolino, in the US version, it's Vanessa Redgrave, who actually I think also voices the Queen too.
Sure.
Yeah, she also voices the Queen. But in the Italian release, it's Sophia Loren.
Oh, nice.
So, Jason Isaacs is the voice of Finn McMissle's plane. Sidley. Bruce Campbell,
Nice.
a voice in the second movie, is Torque Redline. Torque Redline. I don't remember which character that is. So, like I said, Jeff Gordon. It makes me happy. So there's another one that I was like, oh, I didn't realize that person was in that, but I can't find it now. So anyway,
you'll probably find it after we're done recording.
Probably. So, but yeah. Oh crap, I just lost it again. Crap. Chick Hicks. He gets it's Michael Keaton in the first movie.
It's Michael Keaton.
Yeah. It's not Michael Keaton in the third one, but it is in the first one.
Yeah, it kind of, and I didn't know that for a really long time. Then when I was watching it with Alex and, watching the credits, watching the movie for the umpteenth time, I'm not complaining.
Yes.
And then I said, like, wait a minute, that was Michael Keaton? And I rewinding back, I'm like, holy crap, I think it is.
Yep.
I didn't, and like all these years, I just didn't.
Nathan Fillion is in the third one, so
yeah, he is the I can't remember. He's the guy that's got the the big after the Rusty's guys sell the
Sterling.
racing. Yeah, Sterling. I was like, what's the guy's name?
Yeah.
And he's just he just kind of dismisses Cruz as, oh, she's just the trainer, which is a big deal, but she wants to race.
Yeah.
And everything, but yeah, it's kind of funny, like Nathan Fillion playing kind of, he's not sleazy, but he's kind of not a nice guy. It's just funny the way he plays him in that.
Yeah, but
the smarm factor's there.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but it just like every now and then you would have Chick in the third movie pop up on TV, and every time he's all like, greatest racer of all time, Chick Chickley here. He's like, racing legend Chick, and I'm like, dude, and you won one Piston Cup.
Yeah,
and you only won because Lightning stopped 5 feet in front of the finish line.
Yeah, to go help the king, and everybody hated you for what you did.
Yeah,
so,
there should be an asterisk by that win.
Yeah, really.
Everyone looks at that one like he didn't cheat, but he was kind of a douche about it.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually, I mean, not necessarily shot for shot, but that is a recreation of a really bad wreck that the actual Richard Petty had during his heyday.
Yeah.
So yeah, the wrecks are brutal, in NASCAR, even with all the
safety
in any racing, but I mostly only watch NASCAR, so I've seen a lot of wrecks. And
some of the Formula One ones are just as bad too.
Yeah, but even with all the safety and stuff that they've been able to come up with, at any time that a driver goes airborne and flips and lands on top of upside down is it can be really scary watching it, and to think in the Cars universe that it's not a person in a car, the car is the person. So when they wreck,
that's them.
That's them.
That's like in football you get flattened, or you're at the bottom of the pile and you've landed funny, or I don't know, I just think several years ago when Alex Smith broke his leg and it was just awful, and we were like, is he even gonna be able to walk again? But yeah, that kind of thing. So sports can be dangerous if you're not careful, and even when you are careful, it just sometimes it happens. But the people who are passionate about it and do it, they accept those risks, and that's how it goes. But yeah, it's kind of cool that they included that aspect of it, and not just, hey, we're superhuman, cars, we can do anything. No, you guys, like even at the beginning, there's that big pile up, and they have to tow all the cars off the racetrack just so the race can get started. And there's that one who's like, I can still race, and he's all beat up. I mean, it's kind of played for laughs, but sometimes they'll, any kind of athlete, whether it's racing or what have you, but
yeah. So, but thankfully, real life Richard Petty was fine, and in the Cars universe, the King was okay too. So
you even see him in the the credits where they like Radiator Springs as a museum now, and the King is like, yeah, Hudson Hornet was my inspiration, and they're asking like, where's Doc Hudson now? And he's like, oh, I think he went up for a drive, and you see Lightning and Doc racing each other.
Yep. He's like, oh, I've learned all your tricks. Not yet, rookie.
You still got a lot to learn, rookie. It is so cute with Doc just kind of being like competitive with Lightning after all that, and he's kind of mentoring him, but he's still like, yeah, I still got it.
Well, then poor Mater at the end. Over
Found
the
my
side of the cliff.
hood.
Yeah.
I haven't
That's
seen this
true.
in 20 years.
I ain't seen it in 20 years. Still fits perfectly. He sneezes. Nah,
Yes.
dang.
Dang. Yeah.
Give me another 20 years before I see it again.
Yep.
It's going to take me that many casts of going fishing to find it again.
Yep. Seems to me like he knowed you was gonna crash. Thank you, Mater. Thank you. Speaking of your local funny little weirdos, we actually know a guy who does talk like that. It ain't an act. That is actually his way of speaking. We have lots of stories about this guy, which I won't regale you with them now because we'll be here all night. But yeah, it's like Larry the Cable Guy may be doing an act, but this guy that we knew is like
genuine article.
He's a genuine article. Larry the Cable Guy gets paid millions of dollars to do what this guy does for free.
I think we all know of that one particular person in our respective cities.
Yes, there's always that guy that it's like, yeah, we love him. He's a little nutty, but we love him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of funny stories. So yeah, Mater, he's a keeper.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Anything else we want to talk about with the Cars franchise? If you haven't watched the movies in a while, go watch them. Go watch the shorts. It's one of the unsung gems of Pixar. So give it another shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not just a glorified toy commercial.
Yeah.
I've heard people call it that, and I get all
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Yeah, it is not.
But anyway, anyone else has anything else they want to say, or we've covered it all? Right.
Good times at Radiator Springs.
Yes, let's go racing.
Yes.
Anyway, well, if any of our listeners want to talk about what they think of Cars, or if you've been to the attractions or any of the other stuff, send us some feedback or anything else we've talked about. Our feedback is the 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. No the on the email address, but with the website there is a the, so it's the5ishfangirls.com to find all our links, all our social media, all of our show notes, and like we said, we'll put all of our like our news links and stuff like that in our show notes, and you can find ways to support the podcast, whether through our merch shop or Patreon or Amazon or any of those others. And as always, we thank our listeners, we thank our supporters for being here, for listening, enjoying what we do, and whether you're sending us feedback or commenting or on our Patreon, we love you. Thanks for being there. Thanks for the support, and hope you all are doing well out there.
Yep.
Indeed.
Pace yourself. We just had Halloween, but Thanksgiving is coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
I call this time of year, this stretch of months. It's like your diet. If you're on a diet, just forget it, because we just had Halloween. We get all the candy.
This is stretchy pants season.
Yeah, the Thanksgiving is all the yummy, lovely food, and then Christmas, it's a mix of Halloween and Thanksgiving. You get the yummy food and the candy.
Yep.
So just pace yourself.
Yes. All right. So with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Troy saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. You have jumped a barrier. You have maimed 2 vehicles. You have destroyed a drinking fountain. You have crashed. You have crashed. I have crashed.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at thefivishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/5ishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You could also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.